The reality is, people mind wander 47% of the time. 47% of the time, people are not in the present. They are not home. What are we going to do about that? And let's do what the Buddha suggested in that wonderful story he himself told 2,500 years ago. A story about acrobats, an adult male teacher, and a little girl student performing every day on the streets. The act, as we know, is the teacher balances a tall bamboo pole on his head. The little child climbs to the top and stays there while the teacher walks around. Why? Well, so they can earn enough money to buy food. They are very poor. But how can acrobats maintain concentration and balance and prevent an accident? Empty the cup, of course, is the answer. Be in the moment. Be mindful. But tell me more. What does that mean? What's involved? And part of it is this: having the right attitude. This amounts to rejecting the notion that personal development is unjustifiable self-indulgence. I will watch you and you will watch me, says the teacher to a student. And that's like any of us today saying, there is so much to do, there is so little time, and so how dare I take some of that precious time away from you and go to the yoga studio and do something that seems just for me. Sweat on a mat, performing absurd-looking poses, while the instructor wanders around the room and says in modulated, spiritual-like tones, stay with the breath. Breathe in, breathe. Maybe your yoga instructors don't talk to you like, maybe you don't have a yoga instructor. Whatever. You can imagine, right? You can imagine. But of course the question is, how else are we going to learn to be present in the moment? How else are we going to learn that? Whether by yoga or by some other spiritual practice. When we are mind-wandering 47% of the time, how are things going to get better by just doing more of the same? That is like trying to sharpen an axe by chopping wood. If we are ever going to find home in the present moment, we must have the right resolve of the little girl who says to her teacher, I think it would be better for each of us to watch our own self. To look after oneself means to look after both of us. Abraham Lincoln said it this way: give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. Think of the hours of your day. How are they proportioned? How much time is given to sharpening the instrument of your mind so it can serve you well when you're using it? But there's a second teaching about mindfulness in the Buddha's story. The little girl says that her teacher ought to watch himself. But what ought he watch? One thing might very well be how he is responding to the experience of poverty. The poverty that forces him to walk up and down the street with a small child balanced on a tall bamboo pole, balanced on his head. Maybe it makes him feel humiliated or full of rage or sad, or all three and more. But if he can allow the hurt to just be there without trying to judge it or to push it away, he'll still have sufficient presence of mind to maintain concentration and balance. On the other hand, the little child goes flying if he spends needless energy telling himself he should be ashamed to feel humiliated, to tell himself it's wrong to feel rage or sadness. That is tying himself up into emotional knots, and that is the sort of suffering that makes a person definitively homeless. Because we are refusing to be where we are. We are rejecting the way our life feels. We are demanding in futile fashion that what is should not be so. Everybody in this space has a bamboo pole balanced on top of your head. And some kind of little child is up there, and they are hoping that you do not drop them. The life circumstances that have conspired to put you into whatever this position is, the life circumstances that have conspired to put you into this position, they might have hurt you as much as the teacher in the story, maybe even more. Here we are, for all sorts of reasons, in a place poised to move from this physical location, and it is a hard moment. But we cannot afford to refuse to be where we are. We're going to drop that child. Maybe it's a disease or a divorce that has put you in a hard place. Accept it and make choices that are not reactive but responsive to the reality you are in. Do not drop that child. All of us are in a hard place in America right now. It is so easy to be anxious. It is so easy to be afraid or angry all the time. I know I am angry all the time. But there is a sweet little child balanced on the bamboo pole on top of your head. And she is your family and friends. And she is your religious community that loves you. She's all the things that bring you alive in your life and help make you hopeful. Maybe she is your meditation practice that teaches you how to be at home no matter what the external circumstances are, even if you happen to be driving in Atlanta traffic. Buddha says, don't drop her. Allow the present moment to be what it is. Be in that moment with an open heart, and there can be no other way to happiness. If happiness is to be found, stay curious. Every moment, the mystery unfolds. That is how we let the Zen come in. Amen.